Indictment hearing against former U.S. President Donald Trump for a second day is set to start shortly. Barricades have been set up near Trump Tower, and scores of journalists have been camped outside the prosecutor's office and the courthouse. New York police have tightened security ahead of this possible indictment over hush money paid to a porn star. The timing, however, remains uncertain. Prosecutors have signaled that they're preparing to charge the former president for covering up payments worth $130,000 as legal fees. Meanwhile, Trump's supporters and porn star Stormy Daniels have been busy trolling one another on social media. Stormy Daniels claims that she had an affair with Donald Trump. She claims that the former U.S. president gave her $130,000 before the 2016 elections to not discuss the encounter. President Trump, however, has maintained that nothing of that sort ever happened, and in 2018 told reporters he knows nothing about any payments made. If an indictment is filed, the 76-year-old Republican presidential 2024 candidate would become the first former or sitting president to be charged with a crime. The possible indictment would also send shockwaves through the 2024 White House race. Police have geared up for an arrest or self-surrender, which would see an ex-leader of the U.S. booked, fingerprinted, and even possibly handcuffed. Trump and many Republicans have been citing all of this as a political witch hunt, saying it's an attempt to take down the leading candidate in the Republican Party. Trump's former lawyer turned enemy, Michael Cohen, who has testified before the grand jury, told Congress in 2019 that he made the payment on Trump's behalf. The payment to Daniels, if not properly accounted for, could result in a misdemeanor charge for falsifying business records. That might be raised to a felony if the false account was intended to cover up a second crime, such as campaign finance violations. In the United States, campaign finance violations is punishable by up to 4 years behind bars. Legal experts say, however, the argument would be very difficult to prove in court, and any jail time is far from certain. An indictment would begin a lengthy process that could last months, as the case would face legal hurdles and move toward jury selection. Trump is facing multiple other legal challenges and investigations. Cases include his handling of classified documents and his alleged efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential elections. Okay, for more on this, we are joined by Nicole Renner-Schmidt, political analyst and commentator. She's joining us live from Washington, D.C. Nicole, welcome to WION, and thank you so much for joining us this morning. So Republicans and some Democrats actually are very concerned that this wasn't the right path to take on the part of Alvin Bragg in trying to indict Donald Trump for what is essentially a misdemeanor charge that Bragg tries to resurrect out of the blue, foregoing statute of limitation issues and bringing this to the forefront all of a sudden. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, there are a lot of concerns about it. There are Democrats who have concerns because they think that some of the other things that you mentioned, his clear coordination with people to try to overturn the results of the 2020 election and this classified documents are much more serious, and that this is taking away from that and feeding into a narrative that the Republicans are putting out there that this is a witch hunt, which, is not something that the Democrats believe is true. They do think that this payoff happened. It's clear the grand jury is likely going to go forward with an indictment, but that these other things are more serious and what the focus should be on.
And can you talk about how this might affect the former president ultimately, if an indictment ultimately is issued, not maybe today, but in the next week? Some say that it would actually help him if he, moves forward. After all, Donald Trump, for lack of a better word, performs best when he has his back to the wall.
Right. There's a lot of people that think this gives him an opportunity to have his bravado. We saw him go on TV last week and say, they're coming for you. They're just, I'm in their way, which, what they're coming for the American people on if they're paying off former lovers is a mystery to the Democrats, but he's making it clear that he's going to make himself sort of this martyr. And he famously had a quote that he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and his people would still love him. And thus far, that's held up with a base of the Republican Party. So what we're looking at here is a Republican Party that is having an internal struggle right now of where are they going to fall. And we're seeing a lot of the congressional leaders, while they clearly prefer not to talk about it, ultimately are endorsing him. We've seen a couple go with DeSantis. This is an internal dilemma for their party that they are going to have to decide, do they draw a line somewhere and do they start to lift up other leaders? I mean, we saw every Secretary of State candidate the Republicans had that was an election denier lose in 2022. I mean, yes, they seem to think they need to do this in their base to win primaries, but it's not helping them win generals. So the Republicans got to decide, where are they going as a party and who are they going to have be their leader?
Yeah, very interesting, very well said. A nuanced point, definitely. And I think it was very interesting that he did call for protests, and we have not seen that kind of mass protest, at least from his supporters downtown in Manhattan, at least not for now. Nicole Brenner Schmidt, thank you so much for joining us on WION, and I do look forward to speaking to you again very soon.
Thank you so much.